Hello again, and welcome to the 365 Retirement Podcast with the team at Rubino and Lang Wealth Partners. My name is Randy Cook. I'm here each week with one of the team. Today, John Conley is here, and we're going to talk through picking your retirement date and how a financial advisor may be able to help. John, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Randy. How are things with you?
I'm good. So when people sit down with you for the very first time, that's got to be one of the questions is, do you have a retirement date in mind? And do people actually say, okay, I want, July of 2026. That's my date. Or is it kind of open? What do they say when you ask them something like that?
When I ask them, sometimes I say, like, if you had a magic wand, when would you want to retire? And they say tomorrow.
Got it.
But in reality, they'll give me like, hey, I was envisioning retiring at 65 or 66, whatever the age is.
Okay.
But most people we saw since COVID, they would love to retire sooner.
Right. So is it determining on something like if my spouse is going to retire, so I think I'll retire? Is it I can't take it one more day at work, so I'd like to get out as soon as possible? Is it I've been going and I've just been basically working for Medicare. I'm going to get to 65. I finally get there. I imagine there's a lot of different reasons that people pick those dates.
Yeah, a lot of different reasons. Some individuals, ever since COVID, we've seen people who, I'll use an example, hey, I want to retire at 65. And let's say they're 62 now. Mm-hmm. And then they're like, hey, my company's trying to get me to go back and work in the office. I kind of like working from home. I don't want to be stuck in traffic, time away from the family, all that, the commute. And, can I retire now? I'm kind of done. Or I have a new project manager and this individual isn't like my other boss that I have. Or the company changed hands and it's not a family company anymore. So we see the gamut of it. Different reasons why people want to retire sooner versus later.
So I would imagine that nobody wants to go into a meeting like that and say, you look at them and go, you're going to have to work 2 more years. You're going to have to work 3 more years. What they want to hear is you could retire now. And that's what everybody wants to hear. But it is interesting. There's a study from the people at Northwestern Mutual, and it says if you work with a financial advisor, the average is people retire at age 64. If you try to do this on your own and do your own retirement planning, the average age of retirement is 66. So getting a little financial help seems to kind of help out. So talk to me about that. When you do the numbers for people and you say, you know what, you could retire right now, do people usually do that? Or do they go back to work kind of with a little bit of a swagger and say, I can walk out of here anytime I want to?
Yeah, so like when we do a financial plan with someone, we try to really get how do they envision their retirement years, whether it be going down to Florida for a few months out of the year. How do you envision it? When do you want it to happen? And then as we go through that process, so if we show an individual, hey, you are financially independent today. You could retire if you chose to. Mm-hmm. And this is where your income's going to come from. These are some projections. Most times people say, you know what? Going to work isn't so bad anymore, knowing I could leave tomorrow. And we've seen that with existing clients where we'll have a review and say, hey, listen, looking at the projections that we ran over time, you were hoping to retire at 66. Looking at the numbers, looking where everything stands today, you could retire tomorrow if you chose to. Mm-hmm. And if you go to work, it's because you want to. It's not because you have to. And often people say, I could care less about the deadline that my boss has now because I could walk out tomorrow. I'm financially independent.
So when people have that kind of power, and that's really kind of cool, that they can literally walk away anytime they want to, and they have that attitude going in and say, I don't need this anymore, do you find sometimes that the boss will kind of say, well, we kind of need you. Would you like to go 3 days a week? We'd like to have you hang around a little bit. Maybe give me your terms. You wave your magic wand and you tell me what kind of a situation you would want. We'll see if we can accommodate that. Do you find that happens sometimes?
Absolutely. So when you talk about the power, having that power, first you got to make sure that you are financially independent. You have to sit down, come up with a financial plan, have everything reviewed, and really come up with a process and a plan. Once you get to that final stage of, hey, I can retire, you may walk into the office and tell your company that, hey, I'm going to give you my 30-day notice or whatever, how long you might have been there, you might give even more notice. Mm-hmm. What we're seeing is that more and more companies want to keep this person on as a consultant of some sort. So all of a sudden, if you're working, you're making $100,000 a year and collecting health insurance, now you're off the health insurance once you stop working. The company might say, hey, we only need you 20 hours a week and we'll pay you $50,000 a year. So that helps the financial plan as well. Now we don't have to make as much of a withdrawal from the plan because you're still working. You're going to work as a consultant part-time. The lifting isn't heavy. So we're seeing more and more of our clients becoming consultants or doing a passion project once they stop working.
Do you find that people, as they come in with that retirement date and they say, you said 66, let's use that. And they're 63 right now. So that's 3 years away. And they put that number in front of you. You say you can retire right now. And then they go, well, okay, let's figure this a couple of different ways. Let's go 64. Let's go 65. Let's go 66. And just do a number of different plans come out of those kind of meetings and say, if you want to do this, this is what we do. If you want to do that, this is what we do. And now you've got some options.
Exactly. So what I call those like the what if scenarios. What if we spent maybe a little bit more money? What if we stopped working at 64 or 65? What does that look like? What do all the plans look like compared to each other? And what is the end result comparable? So we want to look at them all and say, if you stop working at 63, this is most likely the end result. At 64, 65, they're all going to have somewhat different results, but we want to make sure that you can get there financially independently. And then from there, know, hey, I can make this decision with facts behind me, that I did the plan, I've prepared for this. When I exit the workforce, it's really hard to re-enter the workforce. So we want to make sure that you're 100% able to exit and never have to go back to work unless you want to.
And I think that what I'm hearing from you right there is I want to know that I have the confidence that I can walk away from work, I can walk away from that paycheck, and I'm going to be just fine. And to give people that kind of confidence, I got to believe, they may walk in the door wondering and kind of sheepishly going, I don't know if I did enough, I don't know if I can retire. But then you give them the math, and you give them the permission, and you give them the confidence. They kind of walk out, I imagine, walking a little bit differently, don't they?
You walk in with your head a little higher.
Yeah.
But we see people who come into our office, they've done a really good job in saving and preparing for retirement, whether it be in their 401k, SEP IRAs, whatever, how they're saving for their retirement. And most people kind of have a pile of money, and they hope that at the end of the day, I saved enough that money is going to generate enough income to offset Social Security, maybe if you're fortunate enough to have a pension. But then to sit down and say, how does taxes affect me down the road? Or inflation? What if someone gets sick and has to go to a nursing home? How do we protect these assets? So all of a sudden, it's not just about the pile of money, it's how you're going to utilize that money. Where is the money going to come from? How do I get this to the next generation if we don't use it all in our lifetime? How do I reduce taxes moving forward from my withdrawals from my 401k or my IRA? You want to do some tax planning on top of not just on how much you're going to earn or make or how you're invested. There's a lot of different scenarios and steps that we have to go through to make sure that you understand where you stand and where you're trying to get to, so that when you get there, you're doing it, like you said, with full confidence.
Well, John has said it many times here on the podcast, and that is people come in the door and they've done a great job saving, but they still don't know. They don't know what their prospects are, when they can retire. Did I do enough? In my mind, I'm ready to retire. Is my wallet ready to retire? Is my savings ready to retire? And that's the information that you want. We would love to give you that information. It just takes a meeting, and we'll sit down and evaluate the whole thing. If you want to go to our website, it's 365retirement.com. Up in the upper right-hand corner, there's a button there that says Talk to an Advisor. You can click on that. You can even schedule an appointment right there. And what it really starts off as is a phone conversation and just getting to know John and the team at Rubino & Lang Wealth Partners, and you can sit down and talk through that. That may add to a meeting where you sit down and talk through some nuts and bolts of it all and find out, what is your retirement date? When do you want to retire? When is your money ready to retire? Let's give you the confidence that you need. You can find us again online at 365retirement.com. We invite you to like and subscribe. We appreciate you listening, and we'll see you next time.
Ryan Marston and John Conley are investment advisor representatives of Brookstone Wealth Advisors, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed should not be considered investment advice or recommendation to buy or sell any financial vehicle. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments can fluctuate and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. Investment financial professionals are not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Sam Lang is licensed in your state, please call 617-630-8787. Rubino and Lang Wealth Partners is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Rubino and Lang Insurance Agency, LLC, Massachusetts Insurance License number 1783398.